Hello everyone, this is Mr. Marr. This is my tutorial on bass and harmonic movement. We looked at this concept in class and we took some notes on these different words and terms. So this is a way to apply it just so you can see what this would look like in a musical composition. So I had to adjust this a little bit when I started making the tutorial. There's a few things that just needed to make a little bit more sense. So you'll see some of these updates. If you already opened the spreadsheet, you might have to close it and then reopen it, or I can just help you. So you're gonna write two bass lines. Because there's a lot of different options, it's just gonna make more sense if you get a chance kind of picking some different parameters and seeing how that fits. So the point for at least the planning here is that you will write and plan two different bass lines. So I'm gonna start with bass line 1. So your options are movement. For movement are static, 2 chords, and 3 or more. So static bass line just stays on the same note. So that's a pretty easy choice to take. You're certainly welcome to, because it's a very musical choice for certain situations. For this first one, I think I'm gonna do a 3 or more note bass line. And for the second one, I think I'm gonna do a 2 chord. So when I say movement in this case, it's how much are the notes moving, if that makes sense. Is it staying in one place, or is it moving to different places? Is it moving to lots of different places? These are the choices you can make when you're thinking about your foundation, your bass line. For symmetry, we're gonna be using an 8-bar pattern. So you can cut up 8 into a lot of different pieces. You could do a 4 and 4 8-bar pattern. That would be symmetrical because it's the same on both sides. You could also do like a 3-3-2. You could do a 2-3-3. You could do 6 and 2. All of these are different asymmetrical patterns. So I think to start, I'm gonna do I'm gonna do an asymmetrical pattern for my 3 or more, and for my 2 chords, I'm just gonna do symmetrical. So direction is, once you get on your starting note and program that, are you gonna go up or down? Or if you have more than one chord, are you gonna go up and then down? Or are you gonna keep going up, keep going down? It's up to you. So I think I'm gonna do, for this 3 or more chord, I'm gonna do a downward chord progression, and then for my 2 chord, I'm gonna do upwards. For my interval, that's the space between the notes. There's a few different options for that. Bass lines can move by scale steps, so just one note to the next note in the scale. Could also go by thirds, fourths, fifths, or a blend if you have more than one note. So I think for my first bass line, I'm gonna have all of the notes go in thirds. And for my second bass line, I'm gonna make it a fifth. Scale guide is you're just gonna pick a scale guide. It's up to you. If there's a scale that you remember really well from when we did the scale writing exercise, I would suggest picking that just to keep reinforcing these relationships between the notes. So I think for my first one, I'm gonna do G major, and maybe for the second one, I'm gonna do G minor, just to keep it consistent with my last example. All right, so now I've got these 2 bass lines planned out. So I'm gonna create that in the Soundtrap project here. So I tried to update this so that there would be 2 tracks here. If there isn't a second square wave track, click the 3 dots and then click duplicate, and then you'll have 2 to write your bass line. So I'm going to need a G major scale guide and a G minor scale guide. So I'm going to go back to the project, the 8-bar scale guides folder. I already downloaded the major scale guide a minute ago. So I'm going to go in and download the minor scale guide. I'm going to just head back over to that project here, and I'm going to just drag and drop to import my scale guides. So I've got one for major and one for minor. I would suggest turning on the loop bar so you don't end up hearing the scale guide. Also, mute one of these so you're just hearing one at a time. You can also use the solo button to just play one track at a time. So I'm going to solo my G major and write a bass line using these parameters. So just like with the scale writing exercise, you're going to go into the piano roll and find your root note. This time you're going to find your root note in a lower octave, so no higher than C3. So I'm going to find G. That G sounds pretty good. Again, if you can't remember how to find the notes, just use your alphabet. So you can count up C, D, E, F, G. Here's a G. So I decided for this first one I was going to use 3 different notes, and they were all going to go in thirds. So if this is my first note, my next note has to be 3 notes away in the scale. And I said I was going to go down. All right, so what's a third down from here? I'm going to just move that, just make a 2 bar here. So if this is 1, you would just count 3 notes down. So 1, 2, 3. So this would be a third away from my starting note. So I've got 2 notes. So the next, I'm still going down a third. So 1, 2, 3. There's my next note that is down a third. And I think I might just stay on that note. So this is an asymmetrical pattern. It's 2, 2, and then 4. So it's not doing the same thing in both halves of the pattern. So I'm going to press play so I can hear it. Great. And for our purposes right now, that's all you need to do. This is really just a way to engage with the vocabulary, the terms, the ideas in a pretty simple way. So now we're going to do the same thing for G minor in my second bass line. So again, go into your piano roll. I would also suggest for your grid, I didn't mention this before, but set your grid to 1 bar. With bass lines, they're going to move a lot slower than like melody notes, which is kind of what we were practicing before with those scales. So I'm setting mine to a bar. I'm going to find a good G, and you can see that I still have my other track soloed because this isn't going to work. So I'll just unsolo that and then solo the minor chord. I'm going to find another G. Kind of like that G. So I'm going to program that note in here. And I decided this was going to be 2 chord and it was going to go upwards by a 5th. So if this is 1, I just need to count 5 notes up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here we go. So that upwards by a 5th. There you go. That's all I need to do for that one. All right. So on its own, both of these might not sound like a lot, but these are actually good starting points for, a full composition. You would just need to add some melodies, add some texture, maybe change the sound, some things like that. But that is how you complete the bass and harmonic movement project. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.